So KG from the global girl group VCHA has announced her departure from the group and has stated that she has filed a lawsuit with JYPE Entertainment to terminate her contract and alleges mistreatment and abuse. In her statement that she posted on her Instagram story, she made this decision back in May. So this was not something really new, and she's still waiting for her release from her contract. And she worries about the girls that are remaining in VCHA because they are her friends and she truly cares for them, and they probably don't have a voice right now. Now, some background about VCHA. VCHA was a joint venture between JYPE and Republic Records. It is a global girl group that was through a project called A2K, or America to Korea, back in 2023. It was like a survival show where they picked and choose the members based on different, stuff that they had. Now, VCHA is a fairly new girl group. They haven't been around for a very long time. It hasn't even really been a year. They've only had a couple singles out, and that's really it. They were set to perform at Lollapalooza this year, but then they pulled out of the lineup. And after they pulled out of the lineup, we got the message that they were going on hiatus almost indefinitely. In the 77-page lawsuit that was filed in the Los Angeles Superior Court, KG claims that she suffered from child labor exploitation, child neglect and abuse, unfair business practices, and for breach and rescission of unconscionable contract for the services of a minor. It also alleges in this lawsuit that JYP USA staff knew about the emotional, mental, and physical distress that this was having on not only herself but other VCHA members, even driving them to attempt to unalive themselves and self-harm themselves as well. She is also alleging that JYP constantly surveillanced her and other members of the group, especially in the dining area or the kitchen area, where they put hidden cameras in the kitchen and in the pantries to see what their eating habits were. And they would monitor them 24/7, which is actually really crazy. But I wouldn't be surprised if that is somewhat true, because they can't, see them all the time, that they don't know what they're eating, because extreme thinness is in, and they want to keep their idols thin as possible. So I wouldn't be surprised if they really did have a hidden camera in the pantry, which I think is absolutely insane. It's also alleging that JYP only paid her $500 a week, which would be breaking the law under California labor laws for somebody working over 12 plus hours a week. She also alleges in this lawsuit that her and other members were denied proper meals in order to keep them extremely skinny. Now, this has been a huge issue in the K-pop industry, where thinness is the norm. Restricting people's meals, restricting people's foods, essentially trying to make them as thin as possible, because that's a toxic Korean or Asian beauty standard, is not a new thing to the K-pop industry and to K-pop fans. However, these are kids. Another part of this lawsuit is that JYP pressured the girls to live in a group home, which is typical for K-pop companies in Korea to, put members of the group in a dorm or a dorm facility place together to live. But she states that the contract said it was optional for them to live in this group home, that they did not have to live in the group home if they didn't want to. Now, she was afraid of the consequences and then agreed to live there. However, JYP picked a $2.5 million home and stated that she owed them $500,000 for it. She states that instead of paying her for her hard work, they use that money to pay for the $2.5 million home and the expenses. Alleges that there was overtime with no compensation, restrictions on food and water, confusing contract terms, and just terrible experiences of her and her other members in the group, where it has mentally messed them up. KG has multiple instances where she claims that the JYP staff had mistreated and abused them. There is one instance where she explains that the JYP dance teacher made her do a strenuous move multiple times, even hundreds of times, to the point where it caused a torn shoulder tendon. Now, despite her telling the teacher that she couldn't do it and she felt hurt, the teacher denied her water, and then let the other members drink water in front of her and denied her access to water until she got the move right. Now, my thoughts on all of this is that this is going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, because this is a global girl group that JYP had ventured into because of the globalization of K-pop and the popularity of it. And, you know, having these trainees from a different side of the world where child labor laws and like working laws are much more different and vastly different than Korea, and knowing that these girls have their rights under American law versus Korean law is going to be really interesting to me. But the fact that, you know, Korean companies, even though they're trying to globalize K-pop and they realize that these girls, these trainees, are not from Korea, and the work ethic is not the same, the work culture is not the same, is really interesting to me, because I thought that JYP would change it up and, you know, change up the work ethic and try to make it work for a global girl group that was not in Korea. But that clearly is not the case here, because they tried to use their tactics from Korea, like use their tactics that work in Korea to the West. And that's just not gonna work. That is not gonna work in America. And you have a joint venture with Republic Records who will, I'm sure they're not going to tolerate it either, because that puts a stain on their company as well. So I don't see JYP and Republic Records having another venture whatsoever after this. And it'll be really interesting to see how this plays moving forward with other K-pop companies such as JYPE, who have another global girl group as well, and SM, who's about to launch a global boy group as well, and see how that works and if that changes things moving forward with the globalization of K-pop, knowing that these tactics will not work. Tactics that have worked for almost 20 years is not going to work in 2024 and beyond with, you know, how things are. So the thing is that this is not new for a lot of K-pop fans who have been around for a very long time. The mistreatment and abuse that a lot of K-pop idols and trainees go through is not new. The tactics that a lot of these K-pop companies use or these Korean businesses use on K-pop idols and trainees is nothing new. For instance, if you know about SM, you know that SM is infamous for having lawsuits from trainees and idols who claim mistreatment and abuse when it comes to working for them. It's no secret that K-pop idols go through a lot and they're not compensated for the time that they are spent as a trainee and all that hard work. That's no secret. A lot of idols have talked about how they were basically poor, or they didn't have money as a trainee while they were waiting to debut, and basically had to go through the ringer to get to the point of where they are now. And now in this lawsuit that KG has filed, she talks about how JYP imposed strict control over her life, including her schedule for the day, starting in the early mornings until almost midnight or after. And we see that with K-pop idols who, or trainees that end up leaving early, or like they don't want to be in the group anymore. They end up having to pay that contract back. And basically that is what KG is stating, that she accumulated a massive amount of debt with JYP in order to be in this group. And that is where the confusing contract terms is coming from. Honestly, I hope that something like this does make a change in K-pop companies, even though we've seen it time and time again with SM idols. Nothing has really changed. Hopefully that this will kind of open their eyes to know that this is no longer the norm. This cannot be the norm. I feel really bad for KG and the girls, and I do believe them. I do believe that all of these allegations that they are making towards JYP and their staff are true, because I've heard it time and time again from other idols in JYP who have voiced their disdain about the company, and some of the crazy tactics that they have used in the past has been mentioned multiple times on different shows by different idols. And you can go back and look at those shows and see that, you know, some of the tactics that JYP has used is kind of crazy, like to a lot of Western fans and Korean fans also, but like some of the tactics that they use are very crazy. And it's very interesting to see how they use, knowing that they know how the West is, how free the West is, and how their work culture is vastly different, and trying to implement that from Korea, a tactic that works there. Here, it's just insane to me. But thank you guys for watching my video. If you like my video, if you like K-pop, if you like Korean things, if you like history, if you love food, if you love anime, if you love K-dramas, if you love anything, feel free to subscribe to my channel. And we'll see you again, guys. Thank you.